All right, so bringing that breath in through the nose, twice as long out through the mouth. Feet flat on the ground or sits bones touching the ground, depending on how you're sitting. And allowing your eyes to gently close down. And with your eyes closed, continuing to breathe in through the nose and twice as long out through the mouth as we bring our awareness to the soles of our feet. Noticing the soles of our feet, maybe stretching our toes, moving our feet as we bring awareness and bring a little added comfort to our feet. And as we breathe in through the nose, twice as long out through the mouth, we bring the awareness up through the calves, feeling the muscles, the calf muscles turning loose and letting go. And noticing our knees and our hamstrings, our thighs. Bringing the awareness up into our hips, noticing if we need to adjust in our seat at all, moving our position, making our body feel more and more comfortable as we bring awareness to the different parts of the body. Bringing the awareness higher up through the body into the belly. And the belly is the area of our nervous energy and our excitement and our anticipation. And it can be a place for anxiety and our depression. So just noticing if there's anything stirring in the belly. Bringing the awareness up into the heart, to the center of the heart space, right in the middle of the rib cage. The heart space encompasses the lungs, the diaphragm, the clavicles, the shoulders, the pecs, the breasts, the scapula. As you inhale, imagine your breath bringing a sense of warmness into your heart space. And as you exhale, let go of anything no longer serving you. Again, a nice deep breath in through the nose. Twice as long out through the mouth as your shoulders drop. Your neck softens, and notice if you want to move your neck, stretch it, twist it. Allow yourself to do so. And as we bring the awareness up into the head, relaxing the face, relaxing the jaw, relaxing our ears, our forehead, and our cheeks. And as we sit here breathing in a state of relaxation, tuning into the entire body and just observing the entire body. And placing one hand on your heart, put your other hand on some other part of the body that's calling out for comfort. And taking one nice deep breath in, on your exhale, give your body a positive affirmation. It could be, I love you. I feel you. I take care of you. I like what I see. I like how you move me through the world. Thank you for being my existence. A sacred container that allows us to exist in this world that allows us to experience through all of its senses. And when you're ready, moving the body, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes, opening your eyes and coming back to your awareness of your surroundings. So thank you all for being here. Today we're going to be talking about ego and Tantra and how Tantra helps us notice and even move through the ego. There's a lot of acronyms out there for ego. One of the ones that I heard was edging God out. Drawing a blank on some of the other ones. I've heard so many different acronyms for it. One of the ones that I've found that works the best for how it describes my ego when it shows up is emptiness, grasping, and oppression. The ego is the part of us that says, this is who I am. Maybe not always totally believing it. I think you've probably heard the message, fake it until you make it. And the ego is the part of us that can fake it. Now, I don't know about you, but there's plenty of times where faking it till I make it has actually taught me how to do something. It's taught me how to step into something, how to learn something new, how to become something new. But there's a lot of times where the ego has told me that I'm something that I really am not. And a lot of times when it's telling me something that I really am not, it's the ego coming in telling me something negative about myself. Oh, you're so stupid for doing that. Ugh, you're totally worthless. Oh, you can't do that. The ego can come in and really bash me down sometimes. A lot of times that is that false ego that is popping in. So I want to bring us into an understanding of the ego and of different ways that we can start to help dissipate that false ego, dissipating the parts of us that are telling us that we're something that we really are not, that are leading us in the wrong direction, and allowing us to be able to use the ego for something that is powerful. The ego can move us into new directions and can ask us to try new things that we haven't tried before, because the ego is going to go, you can do that. And sometimes we can't. Sometimes we learn the hard way. But many times we discover in ourselves like, wow, I actually did do that. And there's lots of different names for it. For the sake of today, we're just going to call that the ego, because there are lots of different parts of us, and that could be our saboteur coming in. It could be our higher self coming in, many different parts of the internal family that could be coming in. But for the sake of today, we're going to kind of bundle that into the ego, into the place of those parts of you that experience the emptiness, the grasping, and the oppression. So let's first talk about the emptiness. Emptiness comes from a place of lack. It's the inner voice that tells us that we're not enough. It's the one that will settle for a relationship that maybe is abusive, or maybe is just not very conducive to how we want to be able to exist in the world and in relationship. I don't know about you, but I've had many relationships where my emptiness inside had me saying yes to things that I wouldn't normally say yes to, making agreements in the relationship that hurt me in the long run. And that was that emptiness inside, the voice inside telling me that I wasn't enough. This is as good as you're going to get. Be glad you've got what you've got, and not pushing for that more. And it also shows up a lot of times in our work. Having that emptiness in our work may have us not asking for the raise that we deserve. It may allow someone else to take credit for our work. It may allow us to stay in a job that is tearing us down and not serving us in many ways. One of the places that I notice the lack inside of me, or this emptiness inside of me showing up the most, was in my sexuality. When I was 20 years old, I found myself needing to provide for 3 children. I was a single mom. And without a college education, without a trust fund, without parents that could help me, without any of those things going on, me being just myself that I can look towards, I went to be a stripper. And going to be work in a strip club in a space of emptiness opens you up to not understanding what our boundaries are, not knowing how to speak up for ourselves. And that's where I found myself a lot in my early years, in my 20s and most of my 30s, not even knowing what a boundary was or even how to say no to anything. So notice within you, are there places in your life where you might be showing up in this place of lack, in this place of emptiness, where the ego might be telling you, you're not enough. You don't have the right to ask for that raise. Don't tell him no, because then he's not going to like you. He's not going to want to take you out to dinner again. Or, you've just got to stick it out for the relationship because who's going to want you anyways? It's going to be so hard to find a new partner. There are a lot of places where this might show up in our lives, and just notice for a moment if that's feeling true for you in any parts of your life, and if your body is giving you any signals of this. For me, I could feel it low in my heart. I could feel this tightness just at the bottom of my rib cage. Anytime I wanted to say no to something, or I wanted to ask for something more, or I wanted to assert myself and felt like I wasn't deserving of letting my voice be heard, or letting myself be seen, or asking for that more. And just notice, is there a part in your body where you're able to feel when emptiness is ruling the show? When I'm not worthy, I'm not enough is stepping in and trying to take the reins and hold you back. And the other part of ego, that was E for emptiness, a little bit of Sesame Street in there. E is for emptiness, and that's what it is for me. Just made that one up on the spot. Pretty good at that. The G is for grasping. This is our attachment. When we're holding on to something so tight. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme. Is a meme or a little, I don't know, a little parable? No, I don't know. I remember what the word is for when there's a video or a thing that shows you an example of what something means. But there's these hands, and they're grasping really, really tight to this rope. And the rope is pulling through the hands, and the hands are bleeding and they're cracking. And all the person has to do is to save their hands from all this pain and torture is just to simply let go of the rope. But when we get so accustomed to holding on, to grasping on to something, we will hurt ourselves in the process of holding on to that. I'm sure some of you have heard of the different types of attachments in relationships. And this is that grasping that we're talking about, is our attachment styles to things. Sometimes we grasp too hard to something and our hands are bleeding trying to hold on to it when it's really not even something that's serving us. Or sometimes we just let everything just slip right through. We just let it all go because, well, I'm not worthy of holding on to it anyways. It's not something that would want to stay around with me, maybe. We do this not just in the most popular way that we've heard it, which is in our relationships, in our romantic relationships. We do this sometimes to the roles that we're playing in life. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a Tantra practitioner. I'm a dominatrix. I'm a wife. I'm lots of these different roles. But clinging on to those roles can look like, well, my children right now, they're all in their late 20s. And if I was holding on to that role of mother, then who would I be when they leave the home? Would I be the kind of mother to encourage them to stay home with me? Asking of them to be codependent on me and rely on me just so that way I can keep on grasping on to that role as mother. Or maybe it even shows up in our work. If I'm seen as this, we'll call it a wonderful, amazing, transformative Tantra practitioner, and that's all I am, Well, then who am I when no one needs any trauma healing? Who am I when no one's showing up with any issues in their life? Who am I then as the role of the mother? If I'm so hard in clinging on to this role that I play in my work, we can also grasp a hold really tightly of certain outcomes of things, this sense of control, as if we really have it, wanting to hold on to the outcome so much so that even if a better outcome came around, we might not be able to enjoy it. That's happened so many times for myself. Whenever I actually learned this lesson in a very hard way. Being a single mom of 3 kids, I raised them completely on my own. The first 14 years, their father had them every other weekend. But I was the one that did all of the raising. I hadn't been away from my children for any more than 5 consecutive days. And when I was an alcoholic, still am an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic. Some people call it one thing, some people call it the other. But it's been 11 years since I've drank. And when I was first getting sober, I had done a lot of damage in the trust and in the relationship with my children. And they had gone to live with their father while I'd gotten sober. It was the longest I had been away from them. And once I had gotten out of the treatment center, I was like, I just want them back. My outcome that I got attached to was my children were just going to come right back into my home and we were going to go right back into how things were before. But my children were teenagers and I had done a good job. I didn't like it at the time, but I did a good job at raising very smart and very strong girls. And so they were like, no, Mom, we've got to make sure that you're actually going to stay sober. I didn't want to hear that. My outcome was the second I got out of treatment, I get my kids back. I've earned this. This was the outcome that I wanted. The first time that I got to go see my kids after leaving the treatment center, I wasn't able to put them in the car with me. I wasn't able to drive them anywhere. I was able to sit at the end of the driveway of my ex-husband's home and just talk with them. I couldn't really tell you what we talked about. The whole time I was seething inside because I wanted to blame this new rule on my ex-husband, typically. But what I couldn't see in that moment was my children trying to rebuild their relationship with me. I couldn't even see my children reaching out and wanting to get to know the sober version of me that they had never met before. I couldn't see any of that because I was so attached to the outcome of them getting in my car and coming back home with me. And my sponsor told me, she goes, well, next time when you go to see your children, how about we imagine that the outcome that's going to probably happen is that they don't want to see you and they don't want anything to do with you. What if we attach ourselves to that? Don't you imagine that anything that you get that's beyond that would just fill you with gratitude? Of course, I'm just like, no, not at all. I know my kids want to see me. I know my kids love me. They forgive me. And I want to just move on. But I gave it a shot. I just tried it out. I'm like, okay, she's got 9 years more of sobriety than me. She might know a thing or two. I'll do it. And so I did. And so when I called them to arrange the next time that I saw them, I put it in my head, they're probably not going to want to see me. They're too disappointed. They're probably not going to want to see me. And they were like, yeah, Mom, why don't you come over and we go walk to the ice cream store down the street? And I could feel it in my heart. I was like, oh, yay. Oh, okay. Even though the new outcome was still not the outcome I had originally wanted, I could feel gratitude in my heart for that because I let go of the attachment to that outcome. This also can distort things when it comes to our intimacy. I have a lot of clients who come to see me who they'll tell me the stories that, they couldn't get it up one time. And because they couldn't get it up one time, it seems to be happening over and over again. And it just doesn't seem to work. And sometimes it'll work and then it won't work anymore. And the same happens for women where they're like, I've been struggling to have orgasms and I haven't had an orgasm in forever. And that can even be an attachment to the outcome. We've seen the outcome once. It got validated maybe even a second time. And so inside of us, we hold on to that outcome and we expect that outcome. And I don't know about you, but I have definitely heard of the laws of attraction, manifestation, and all of those things. What you think happens in real life. And this really is true when it comes to our bodies. If I think that, oh, I'm not going to want to get up tomorrow and do my yoga, I'm just going to feel too lazy. Well, guess what? When I wake up in the morning, there is not going to be some spontaneous part of me that goes, oh, I feel like just moving my body around and getting sweaty and stretching things for an hour. No, it's not going to happen. I have to allow my mind to be open to the possibilities that I want it to be open to. And this is letting go of some of those outcomes. So we've got emptiness, we've got grasping, and we've got oppression, control, which kind of plays in a little bit to that grasping and to that attachment. But it's also that urge to dominate and restrict life's flow, to have a certain plan for life, a certain plan for our relationships, to have this sense of perfectionism. I'm not a good mom unless I've done this, 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 and this. How could I call myself a good mother? I've driven drunk with my children in the back of the car. I can't call myself a good mother. That is the control and that need to oppress myself and control myself through dominating and expecting this perfectionism. It also shows up in our fears, the fears that we have in life, the fears of change. I think that's why one of the biggest fears that comes up in my clients' stories is this fear of change. Well, what's it going to be like? I haven't experienced life like that. What if it's worse? But what if it's better? So the oppression that we cast onto ourselves often can bring us back into that place of ego, trying to control ourselves, trying to control outcomes, trying to control people, narratives, stories, and the flow of life. So if we notice any spaces in our life where there's this emptiness, this I'm not enough, this grasping, holding on to the role that we play and the outcomes that are happening in our lives, or are we oppressing ourselves by trying to dominate life in such a way that unless we do everything by the book and by the rules, we are nothing? These contrasts and these vast spectrums can hold us back a lot in our lives. Al, if you don't mind muting for me. You've been quiet this whole time, but I just heard a little something and I realized. But it brings us also back to the fact that the ego is not necessarily bad. The ego can help us. The ego can bring us into a place of I deserve better when we shift the way that we're thinking. It allows for a presence to dissolve the emptiness when we bring in tantric practices that we're going to be going over. Tantra, it teaches us to allow that presence, to allow surrender, to allow the union. And a presence will dissolve that emptiness, because if you're really present in life, loneliness often is not something that is deeply felt. We can feel lonely, we can feel alone, but a deep sense of loneliness tends to leave us when we have a presence in life and we're really present with ourselves in life, as well as surrender. Earlier I mentioned that I'm also a dominatrix. One of the tools that I love to use in combination with tantric tools is some of the elements of BDSM, the element of surrendering, being able to just say, I have absolutely no control, because the truth is that anything that exists outside of our own skin is not in our control. My sponsor used to say, touch your nose. Is it past your nose? Yeah. Then it's not about you and you got no control. She's like, if it's past your nose, you need to say the serenity prayer. And that used to be a little thing that I would do for myself, is the second that I'd start getting into that space of I need to get attached to the outcome and control things, I just touch my nose and go, oh, nope, it's beyond my nose. Okay. I have to ground myself back in and realize that I don't have control in this. And lack of control, when we start to step into it in ways that are more present, in ways that are more connected, It's actually a really beautiful, um, a beautiful space where we get to be in a deeper sense of peace. And also, Tantra brings in that space of union. Union is going to dissolve oppression and control, because when we're wanting union, we don't want oppression and control. I think we see that in our country, when we have someone in control who is creating a sense of oppression in our view. You know, we all have different views on whoever's in control in our different experiences. So if you have a president who is giving you a feeling of being oppressed, well, then that's going to break that union of you feeling like, I am an American and I feel proud to be an American. We see that happening a lot in the news. This oppression, that oppression. So when we shift from ego's tightness into Tantra's openness, it's both scary and it's exhilarating, liberating. It opens us up to our possibilities and more real possibilities. So let's take a breath. Nice deep breath in through the nose. All this talk about ego, just noticing if there's any parts of our body that have been feeling a little like, ooh, I feel like she's talking about me. Ooh. And just having a little bit of compassion for that space inside of us, just noticing what is that in there? Maybe a tightness in the chest, maybe a little butterfly in the belly, of a spot in your life where the ego has been creeping in and maybe hasn't been serving you as well. So let's do a quick breathing practice. And this practice is really to just expand our own presence, expand our presence within ourselves. So we're going to go back to closing the eyes, feet flat on the ground. And you're going to follow along with my breath. And the breath is when we take an inhale, you're actually going to let your belly fall out. So it's almost like you're pushing the belly out a little bit, but we're not forcing it out. We're letting it just kind of fall. And then when we are exhaling, we're going to tighten the belly. So we're actually pushing the exhale out with our belly. And we're just going to do one quick round of this. At the end of the round, I'm going to count down to this is our last breath. And when we inhale, we're going to hold that inhale. We're going to hold it. Wait, let me get my timer out. I have done this and totally forgotten my timer before. And it hasn't worked so well because I don't have that great of a timer in my head. All right, so once I say this is our last breath and hold on the inhale, you're going to hold that inhale just for 30 seconds. And then we're going to exhale and we're going to hold the exhale for up to a minute. So you'll empty the lungs and you'll leave them empty as long as you can. If you can make it the full minute, great, that's awesome. If you can't, that's okay. Allow yourself to breathe. And then we're going to take one more inhale and hold it. And then that will be the end of the breath work. Of course, I'll be coaching you this as we go along. So feet flat on the floor. You can either close your eyes or keep them open, totally up to you. And so let's quickly do just a couple breaths, practicing that breathing. So we're going to inhale and the belly goes out. Exhale and push the belly in. And I'm going to stand up so you can see my belly. And so it's the inhale is in through the nose and out through the mouth. Can't scoop this chair very forward very easily. There we go. Move the table. And so closing the eyes or leaving them open, we're going to empty out the lungs, tightening the belly as we empty out the lungs. Inhale and let the belly fall. Out through the mouth. Last inhale. And hold. Keep holding. Halfway there. And exhale. And let the exhale stay. Keep your lungs empty. Close your eyes or leave them open and focus on your third eye. And just notice the sensations of your body. Keeping your lungs empty as long as you can. We're only going to 1 minute. We're halfway there. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Take a deep inhale and hold for 30 more seconds and just notice your body. Ten more seconds. And let it go and bring our breathing back to normal. And take a moment to just observe your body. You might feel a little bit of tingling in parts of the body. You might feel a little bit more awake or possibly even like you could take a nap. And just noticing the body. Noticing the body is something that we don't often do during the day. When we're getting ready in the morning, we're often thinking about the things that we have to do throughout the day, rushing out the door, then we're driving, having to pay attention to the road, getting to work. Many of us who may work on the computer are all focused in our head all day long. And those of us who do work with our body, often we're so focused on the task at hand, we're really not tuning in. So this moment that you've taken to tune into your body, if you could take that moment just once or twice a day, this could bring you even deeper into a presence with yourself. And now we want to move into two other parts of bringing in presence, which is sound and movement. We're going to do these ones together. So first, I don't know if you notice, I'm already kind of moving back and forth. I'm just kind of moving back and forth on my hips. Just letting my spine kind of sway back and forth. And as you do that, just kind of saying hello to the different parts of the body, noticing your sits bones as they're moving back and forth, and recognizing does a part of you that likes to judge come up and tell you, oh, my sits bones, this is what my inner judge would say. Oh, your sits bones are feeling sore as you're sitting on them because your butt's too small. And if your judging mind wants to come in at all during this, just notice it. And so, oh, there you are. There you are, inner judge. You're helpful most of the time, but a lot of times, not so much. And now starting to move our feet and our legs and almost getting like a stomping as you're sitting. Feeling the legs and the feet moving. And notice the blood vessels, the muscles maybe the cushion below our feet. Bring our arms into it. I don't know about you, but I can hear like a little crickle and crackles as I move around a lot. My spine adjusting, my joints moving. One of the beauties of age. And so now we're going to be breathing. And as we exhale, we're going to give some sound to it and give an ah. And as you bring it deeper to where you can feel the vibrations in your belly. Notice if you stop moving your feet and just move your hands, does the feel any different in your body? If I stop moving my arms and I let them rest and I just move my legs. Do I feel the vibration any more different in my body? And then when I bring my body still and I exhale with sound. What does that feel like? What does it feel like when the sound is high? Like a ha. What does it feel like when the sound is low? And then letting yourself be quiet, letting yourself be still, and noticing the vibrations of the body. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know, Tantra has a lot to do with noticing the vibrations in your body. So now placing one hand on your heart, take your other hand, your dominant writing hand, and write a little note from your heart to yourself on your piece of paper. It could be, I feel silly right now. It could be, I don't have anything to say. Or you could have something more that you'd like to write. But allow the message to be from your heart and not expecting it to make sense. Just whatever comes up. And now I'd like to give you a solo practice that you can do after this call. And this practice is a looking inward practice. You'll get either a hand mirror, or if you have a mirror in your bathroom or in your bedroom that you're able to get close to, you want to be probably no more than about a foot or so away from the mirror. And as you're looking in the mirror, allow yourself to settle on the very center of your eye. It can be either eye, but allow yourself to really focus on that eye. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth as you do so. And just noticing what comes up. At first, we might look at our face. We might look at, oh, my eye makeup ran. Let me fix that real quick. Or noticing an eyelash that's out of place. But once the ego and the outside observations melt away and we're staring long enough, we might notice something a little bit deeper. And so I give you that practice to do after this call. I found that to be one of the most powerful self-reflection practices that I had done in my early healing, to really eye gaze with my own self. So some practices to be able to transform these ego moments, these moments when we're feeling an emptiness inside, when we're grasping at our attachments, or when we're oppressing and controlling ourselves or others. When you're feeling empty, breathe. Connect to your body and to what feels good in your body. Remind yourself that the only thing that's important right now is where my feet are. Maybe even look down at your feet. I had to say to myself so many times in early recovery, where are my feet? Where are my feet? Where are my feet? And when I would say, where are my feet? It's not that I had lost them. Obviously, I know exactly where they are. They're wherever they have taken me. But the point is reminding yourself, I'm right here, right now. I'm not at my job on Monday morning. I'm not in the argument that I had last week. I'm not with any of that. I'm in this moment right now. And so this brings us back to the present moment when we simply breathe, connect to something that feels good in the body, and asking, where are my feet? When we're feeling like we're grasping, we're holding on to an attachment, we're holding on to some role that we're playing, we're holding on to something. Opening up my palms and looking at my hands, I am not holding on to anything. Exhaling and letting whatever it is I'm trying to hold on to, letting that go with the exhale and the openness of my hands. Just like that rope that I was talking about before, holding on so tightly that our fingers are about to be ripped off by the rope, and just going, I don't have to let go that tightly anymore. And when we're feeling the need for control, that oppressive control, surrendering into the sensations of the body. I can control this. I can control this. I can't control you. I can't control that. Reminding ourselves of what we can control and what we cannot control. The Serenity Prayer said it best. Grant me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change, the wisdom to change the things that I can, or I'm sorry, the courage to change the things that I can. And the tricky part, and this was the trickiest part, and this is the part that I hated the most because I didn't have this yet in early recovery, is the wisdom to know the difference. And often that's the hardest part, is just the wisdom to know the difference between what we can control and what we can't. But with these simple practices, it helps to trigger us in our mind of what is really in our control and what is not in our control. So I want to bring in 4 pillars. These are 4 daily pillars that I always choose from for me to bring myself into a space of healing the ego, or if you do internal family systems work, healing different parts of ourselves, because the ego is a big, huge container that contains a lot of unhealed parts of ourselves. First thing is body nourishment and movement. This can be yoga, stretching. This can be going to the gym, maybe swimming, taking a walk in nature. If you can do it barefoot, if your feet allow you to do it barefoot, it's wonderful for being able to ground and being able to exchange energy with the earth, bringing us into a state more of homeostasis. There's also dance and movement of, I like more of an ecstatic type of dance where I put on a song that just moves me. And I agree to myself that I will not do a single choreographed dance move. I'm gonna look like a fool. I'm going to dance like Elaine and be happy with it. So if any of those call out to you, choosing one of those is one of the first pillars of reconnecting ourselves with our more authentic selves and letting some of those healed parts of the ego either be seen, be let go, or be healed. The second is breath in stillness. So this could be a breath work practice. This could be meditation, journaling, as some of you are doing now, doing a visualization or a mantra, or even, this is my husband's favorite, is a restorative nap with intention. He doesn't always put the intention there, but a nap can be that place of stillness. I still struggle with that one. For me, stillness is one of my harder ones. I do it through breath work and meditation, but actually letting myself lay down and take a nap, it's like, no, someone may need me. I might have to do something. I still that still creeps in my head sometimes from being a single mom of three. It's chaotic. So I'm still a little used to that chaos. But choosing one of those to do each day to bring yourself into that place of stillness. And there's sacred connection and ritual. This is one of my favorites. In the morning, my sacred connection is my first one on my list, which is creating and tending to an altar. My home is my altar. The first thing I do whenever I wake up is, of course, I give myself some water or whatever I need. And then I start tidying up my home. And the last thing I do in my tidying up my home is refilling the moon. Now, I haven't always done my altar so extensively. Your altar could be something as simple as just lighting a candle. But I have moon water in a bowl with rose petals in it, and I light my candle, and I light my incense, and I pick a tarot card, and I flip open a page of Young Pueblo, and just this process. None of it really means anything beyond what it is. I don't see tarot cards as foretelling my future or anything, but it's a practice that creates an intention for the day, and it makes the start of my day intentional. The lighting the candle with intention is enough. That's one thing. A gratitude practice, which I love my little Young Pablo book for, because it always has something in there that brings you into a space of gratitude. If you haven't heard of it, Pablo is a three-series book, but three books that just have different sayings in them. It's kind of like really short, even shorter than like chicken noodle soup for the soul. Little sayings that you can read, and it just kind of brings you back into presence in the present moment and in who you are. There's prayer. For those of you who have a connection to God that you like to pray to, praying to God every morning, praying to the universe, praying to whatever higher power there is for you, chanting or singing a song, or even offering something symbolic. Like on my altar, I have a little bowl that I put fresh water in every morning, and I have dried rose petals that I like to sprinkle on that. And that's kind of my offering of flowers, or it could be incense or words of thanks, but just something that you're giving to your day that makes it intentional, makes it sacred, it's connecting, and it's very ritualistic. And then the fourth pillar is nourishment and vitality. So that is nutritional eating. Choosing a meal for yourself, whether it be all 3 meals, 5 meals, or just 1 meal a day that you choose that is really conscious, meaning you put some prep into it. There was thought brought into it. You know what kind of nutrients are in it, and it's something that's going to feed your soul. Or maybe at dinner time, you like to cook as an act of like care and devotion for yourself or for your family. By taking intentional supplements or herbs that support your vitality. Or if you have a certain way that you remind yourself to hydrate throughout the day. Choosing one of these things is amazing for keeping that pillar of nourishment and vitality going for your day. So to recap those 4 pillars, the first one, body nourishment and movement, which is yoga, stretching, swimming, walks, dance, movement. The second pillar is breath and stillness, which is breath work, meditation, journaling, visualization or mantras, or a nap. The third one is sacred connection and ritual, which would be creating or tending to an altar, or lighting a candle with intention, giving yourself a gratitude practice, which can be done in your journal, prayer or song, or offering something symbolic to yourself, like incense or flowers, fresh flowers somewhere. And then the fourth one being nourishment and vitality. And that is your nutrition, making sure that some of your food is intentional, it's nutritious, that you're hydrating yourself. And that if you do cook, that you're cooking with love, with intention, with devotion. These are very subtle ways. Of course, the real work happens whenever we're taking deep dives into all of those different inner parts of ourselves, the parts of us that like to criticize, the parts of us that like to sabotage, the parts of us that are connected and empathetic and loving, and the parts of us that have fire and passion and drive in this world. There's so many different parts of ourselves, and that's where the real work starts. But these four pillars help us center ourselves each day to be able to show up our best each and every single day.